You need to stop what you're doing for a second and check your pocket right now. I'm serious, because there are Washington quarters that look completely ordinary, dull, gray, worn, nothing flashy, and they are hiding silent fortune that collectors are literally fighting over in auctions. Nobody talks about these. People spend them every single day like they're worth 25 cents, when in reality these coins change everything. This is hidden wealth sitting in jars, glove boxes, cash drawers, and pockets across America. Do not spend these coins. What you're about to see gets rarer, scarier, and more valuable with every coin in this video. And if you skip even one detail, you could miss the exact quarter that's worth life-changing money. The real auction shock behind these is unbelievable. Stay with me, because the next few minutes might completely change how you look at every quarter you touch. First up, you would never guess that a dull, gray, almost ugly-looking Washington quarter could be worth $155,000. Not shiny, not pretty, not eye-catching. In fact, most people would think this coin looks old, dirty, and worn out. And that is exactly why people keep spending it. The 1942 Washington quarter without a mint mark, in that grayish antique look, in fine condition, is one of the most quietly dangerous coins hiding in circulation today. This is the kind of coin that slips through fingers, lands in tip jars, gets handed to cashiers, and vanishes forever, while collectors are desperately trying to find one with the exact look you might already have. Do not spend this coin, because the year 1942 was not just another year in American history. This was the year the United States was fully pulled into World War II after Pearl Harbor. The entire nation was under economic pressure. Metals were needed for the war. The U.S. Mint was under stress, rushing production, changing priorities, pushing machinery harder than ever before. And that pressure created rare coins. Coins struck under stress. Coins struck from worn dies. Coins struck in conditions that would never be repeated again. The Philadelphia Mint, which is why there is no mint mark on this quarter, was running at full speed. No time for perfection. No time for careful die replacement. Just output. Production. Urgency. And that urgency is frozen forever in this coin. When you look at the front of the coin, George Washington's profile, you'll notice something collectors obsess over. The details are slightly softened from die fatigue. The hair above the ear, the jawline, the lettering of liberty. It's not weak, it's stressed. There's a difference, and collectors know it instantly. Flip the coin over. The eagle on the reverse doesn't look sharp and modern. It looks tired, historic, almost pressed into the metal instead of stamped cleanly. The arrows, the olive branches, the rim, everything has that antique presence that screams early war minting pressure. This is not damage. This is history pressed into silver. Because this quarter is made of 90% silver and 10% copper. Real silver. Heavy for its size. When you hold it, it feels different from modern quarters. It weighs about 6.25 grams. The diameter is 24.3 millimeters. The thickness is around 1.75 millimeters. The girth and weight give it a solid, serious feel in your hand, like you're holding something important without realizing it. Most people never notice that. Collectors do. Now here's where this becomes serious money. Over 100 million quarters were minted in Philadelphia in 1942. That sounds common. That sounds boring. But almost all of them were used heavily during the war years. Spent, worn down, lost, melted for silver, damaged, cleaned, destroyed. Finding one today with that original grey antique toning in fine condition that has not been cleaned, not been polished, not been ruined by someone trying to make it shiny is extremely rare. That greyish surface, that darkness, that uneven antique tone, that is what collectors want. Never clean this coin. Ever. Cleaning it removes the exact surface that makes it valuable. The toning, the dirt in the crevices, the slightly dark silver color, that is the proof of originality. Once that's gone, the value collapses. This detail changes everything, because when collectors see an original 1942 no-mint mark quarter with that untouched look, they don't see a quarter. They see a survivor. They see a wartime coin that lived through decades without being destroyed by polishing, chemicals, or abuse. They see hidden wealth. And at auctions, the behavior is quiet but aggressive. No shouting, no excitement. Just serious collectors bidding calmly, pushing the price higher and higher because they know how few of these still exist in this state. Most people miss this. They think condition means shiny. Collectors think condition means original. That's why a gray, antique, fine condition 1942 Washington quarter without a mint mark has sold in today's market for around $155,000. You could be holding a silent fortune and not even know it. The first thing you should check is the date, 1942. Then check for a mint mark. There should be none. No D, no S, just blank under the eagle on the reverse. Then look at the color. If it looks gray, old, slightly dark, uneven, almost dirty, that is a good sign. Do not try to improve it. Do not wipe it. Do not polish it. Patience creates wealth with coins like this. Because the next step is critical. Professional grading. Only a certified grading service can confirm the authenticity, condition, and originality that collectors demand. Without grading, it's just a quarter. With grading, it becomes a documented piece of history worth serious money. Collectors are holding these, not selling them. Supply keeps shrinking. Demand keeps rising. And every year, fewer of these remain in original condition. This is not fiction. People are accidentally spending this coin every single day. They see gray metal. Collectors see a life-changing opportunity. And if you think this is shocking, the next Washington quarter we're about to talk about makes this one look common. The next coin is rarer, more dangerous to ignore, and worth even more. And almost nobody knows what to look for. Next up, most people ignore 1966 quarters so fast it's almost painful. They don't even look at them. They don't flip them. They don't think twice. Because in their mind, anything from the 1960s is too new to be valuable. And that exact thought process is why a 1966 Washington quarter without a mint mark, in old, circulated condition, is quietly worth $140,000 right now, while people are dropping it into vending machines like it's nothing. Do not spend this coin. This is one of the most dangerous quarters in American circulation because it hides in plain sight. It doesn't look rare. It doesn't look special. It looks tired, used, worn, ordinary. And collectors absolutely love that about it. The year 1966 sits in one of the most chaotic monetary transitions in U.S. history. Silver had just been removed from quarters in 1965 because the country was facing a massive coin shortage. People were hoarding silver coins. The economy was under pressure. The U.S. Mint was in panic mode, trying to produce as many coins as possible, as fast as possible. Speed replaced precision. Volume replaced quality. And mistakes, irregularities, and strange survivors were born in this environment. In 1966, the Mint removed mint marks entirely from all coins to stop collectors from hoarding them. That's why this quarter has no mint mark. Not because it's from Philadelphia, but because mint marks were intentionally removed nationwide. That detail changes everything, because now collectors cannot rely on a mint mark. They rely on something much more subtle, the exact look, strike, surface, and wear pattern of the coin. When you look at the front of the 1966 Washington quarter, George Washington's profile often appears slightly soft, not weak, but overworked. The lettering in Liberty and in God We Trust can look slightly uneven from dye fatigue. The rim might not be perfectly sharp. Flip it over to the eagle. The feathers don't pop like modern coins. The arrows and olive branches look slightly pressed into the metal instead of sharply stamped. This is what happens when dies are pushed past their comfort limit during a national coin shortage. Collectors know this look instantly. This quarter is made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, not silver. That's what tricks people. They assume no silver means no value. But rarity in coins is not always about metal. It's about survival and history. The weight is about 5.67 grams. The diameter is 24.3 millimeters. The thickness is around 1.75 millimeters. The girth and feel are familiar, which is exactly why people never suspect it. It feels like every other quarter, but it isn't, because most 1966 quarters were destroyed by circulation, vending machines, parking meters, cash registers, billions of transactions over nearly 60 years, scratches, cleaning, damage, abuse. Finding one today in old, natural circulated condition that still shows original surface, original tone, and no cleaning is incredibly rare. And here's the twist. Collectors do not want this coin shiny. They want it exactly how you would find it in a jar, grayish, slightly dark, worn honestly by time. That antique circulated look proves the coin hasn't been tampered with. Never clean this coin. Cleaning erases the exact evidence collectors are searching for. This is where hidden wealth reveals itself. Because when a professionally graded 1966 Washington quarter with original circulated surfaces hits auction, collectors don't treat it like pocket change. They treat it like a survivor from the most stressful minting period in modern US. Coinage, the bidding is quiet, focused, serious, and the price climbs into six figures. $140,000 for a coin most people won't even bend down to pick up if they drop it. Most people miss this. They think rarity has to look rare. But this coin looks forgettable. That's the trap. The first thing you should check is the date, 1966. Then confirm there is no mint mark. That is correct for this year. Then study the surface. If it looks old, evenly worn, slightly dark, with no signs of polishing or cleaning, you might be holding something collectors are desperately trying to find. Look at the high points of Washington's hair, the cheek, the eagle's chest. Honest wear is good. Artificial shine is bad. Do not try to improve it. Patience creates wealth with coins like this. Because the next step is professional grading. Without grading, no one believes what you have. With grading, the coin becomes documented proof of originality from one of the most chaotic mint years in American history. Collectors are holding these tightly. They are not releasing them back into the market. Supply is shrinking every year. Demand is rising as more people learn about this overlooked year. You're holding a silent fortune and you don't even realize it. This is not fiction. People are spending this quarter every single day because it doesn't look important. And if you think this is shocking, the next Washington quarter we're about to reveal makes this one look easy to find. The next coin is rarer, more unbelievable, and even more dangerous to ignore. Next up, there is a quarter so unimpressive, so dirty, so forgettable, that most people would actually feel embarrassed handing it to a cashier. Dark, grimy, worn down from years of use. And that exact coin, a 1968 Washington quarter without a mint mark, in old, dirty, circulated condition, is quietly worth $125,000 today. Do not spend this coin, because this one hides in the exact place nobody ever looks, the junk change pile. The coins you don't even want to touch. The ones at the bottom of the cup holder, the jar, the drawer, covered in years of fingerprints and neglect. Collectors are hunting for this exact look. Not shiny, not pretty, not polished. Dirty, original, untouched by anyone trying to fix it. 1968 was another strange year in American coin history. The country was still adjusting to the removal of silver from quarters just a few years earlier. People were still hoarding older silver coins. The mint was still trying to flood the economy with enough clad coinage to keep commerce moving. But something else was happening. The mint had just reintroduced mint marks in 1968 after removing them from 1965 to 1967. Most quarters from 1968 have D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, but some do not. And that is where the obsession begins. A 1968 quarter without a mint mark is not supposed to exist in large numbers. These are the coins struck under transitional pressure, confusion, die use, and minting strain during a period when procedures were still being stabilized. That detail changes everything, because now collectors aren't just looking at a date, they're looking at a mistake period in mint history. Look at the front of the coin. George Washington's profile often looks slightly flat, slightly tired, almost pressed into the metal rather than stamped with crisp force. The word liberty might not stand boldly. In God we trust can appear softened by die fatigue. This is not damage. This is evidence of overworked mint equipment during a chaotic time. Flip the coin over. The eagle looks heavy, dense. The feathers are not sharp and proud. They're subdued. The arrows and olive branches feel like they were impressed into the metal under pressure rather than perfectly struck. Collectors see this and immediately know what they're looking at. The composition is copper-nickel clad, no silver, which is why people ignore it. The weight is about 5.67 grams. Diameter is 24.3 millimeters. Thickness is roughly 1.75 millimeters. It feels exactly like every other quarter in your hand, which is why it's so dangerous, because it hides perfectly in circulation. Now here's where this becomes serious money. Most 1968 quarters were used heavily. Nearly 6 decades of vending machines, parking meters, cash registers, pockets, drawers. They were scratched, polished, cleaned, damaged and destroyed by people trying to make them look better. But the ones collectors are paying fortunes for are the ones that look exactly like they were forgotten. Old, dirty, evenly worn, naturally darkened by time. Never clean this coin. The dirt in the crevices, the dark tone around the lettering, the grey-brown surface. That is the proof of originality. The moment you clean it, you erase the history collectors are paying for. Most people miss this. They think dirt lowers value. In coins like this, dirt proves authenticity. Survival in this condition is rare because most people either spent these coins into oblivion or tried to shine them up. Finding one today that still has that untouched, circulated look is incredibly difficult. And when one appears at auction, collectors get very quiet and very serious. No excitement, no noise, just focused bidding that climbs higher and higher because they know how few of these still exist. That's how a 1968 no-mint mark Washington quarter in old, dirty, circulated condition reaches a market value of $125,000. Hidden wealth, silent fortune. You're holding a life-changing opportunity and you don't even know it. The first thing you should check is the date, 1968. Then, look for a mint mark. If there is no D and no S, you need to stop immediately. Then study the surface. If it looks old, dark, dirty, evenly worn, and absolutely uncleaned, that is exactly what collectors want. Do not try to improve it. Patience creates wealth here. Because the next critical step is professional grading. Without grading, nobody will take the coins seriously. With grading, it becomes documented proof of a rare survivor from a chaotic minting year. Collectors are not selling these. They are holding them. Supply keeps shrinking. Demand keeps rising as more people discover this overlooked detail. This is not fiction. People are accidentally losing this coin every single day because it looks worthless. And if you think this is unbelievable, the next Washington quarter is even rarer, even more shocking, and even more valuable than this one. Next up, if I handed you this quarter in a parking lot, you wouldn't even look at it. You'd feel the dirt on it, see the dark color, the worn edges, and your brain would instantly label it junk change. And that exact mistake is costing people $110,000. Because the 1969 Washington quarter, without a mint mark, in dirty, circulated condition, is one of the most quietly valuable coins people are accidentally spending every single day. Do not spend this coin. This one is dangerous because nothing about it looks important. It doesn't shine. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't scream rare. It whispers old, used, forgotten. And collectors are obsessed with that whisper. 1969 was a year of national tension and transition. The country was deep into the Vietnam War. The economy was strained. Inflation pressure was rising. The mint was still recovering from the massive coin shortage that started in the mid-1960s when silver was removed from circulation. Production demands were still extremely high, and the mint's priority was speed, not perfection. And when speed becomes the priority, rare survivors are born. By 1969, mint marks had been restored the previous year. Quarters were supposed to carry either a D from Denver or an S from San Francisco, but some do not. And that's where this becomes serious. A 1969 quarter with no mint mark is not something most people even realize exists. But collectors do, because these coins were struck during a period of procedural adjustment, die overuse, and minting stress where small irregularities slipped through. That detail changes everything. Now, when you look at the front of the coin, George Washington's profile, you may notice the details look slightly muted. The hair isn't sharply defined. The lettering in Liberty and In God We Trust may appear slightly pressed into the surface rather than boldly raised. This is not wear alone. This is die fatigue from heavy production. Flip the coin over and study the eagle. The feathers don't jump out at you. The arrows and olive branches look blended into the surface. The rim might not be razor sharp. Collectors recognize this look immediately as a product of overworked mint dies during a high-pressure production year. The composition is copper-nickel clad. No silver. That's the trap. People assume no silver means no value. But rarity is about survival, history, and originality. The coin weighs about 5.67 grams. The diameter is 24.3 millimeters. The thickness is approximately 1.75 millimeters. The girth feels identical to any modern quarter, which is why this coin hides perfectly in circulation without raising suspicion. It feels normal. It is not. Most 1969 quarters lived hard lives. Decades in vending machines, coin rolls, drawers, parking meters, laundromats. They were scratched, polished, cleaned, damaged and destroyed by people trying to make them look better. That's why the ones collectors are paying fortunes for are the ones that still look dirty, dark, and honestly worn by time. Never clean this coin. The dirt around the letters. The dark tone near Washington's profile. The gray-brown antique surface. That is the proof of originality collectors demand. Once that's gone, the value is gone forever. Most people miss this. They think dirt is bad. In coins like this, dirt is evidence. Because survival in this untouched condition is extremely rare. People either spent them away or ruined them with polishing cloths and chemicals. So when a professionally graded 1969 no mint mark Washington quarter in dirty, circulated condition appears at auction, collectors become intensely focused. The room goes quiet. Bidding becomes deliberate. And the price climbs to $110,000 for a coin someone almost threw into a tip jar. Hidden wealth, silent fortune, a life-changing opportunity hiding in the ugliest coins you own. The first thing to check is the date, 1969. Then immediately check for a mint mark. If there is no D and no S, you need to slow down. Look closely at the surface. If it's dark, dirty, evenly worn, and clearly never cleaned, you may be holding something collectors desperately want. Do not try to improve it. Patience creates wealth here, because the next step is critical: professional grading. Only certified grading can confirm the originality and condition that turns this from pocket change into serious money. Collectors are not selling these. They are holding them tightly. Supply shrinks every year as more are lost or ruined. Demand keeps rising as awareness spreads. This is not fiction. People are accidentally losing this coin every single day because it looks worthless. And what comes next is even bigger. The next Washington quarter is rarer, more shocking, and even more dangerous to ignore than this one. Next up, nobody, and I mean nobody, believes a 1980 quarter could be worth real money. It's too modern, too common, too ordinary. That's exactly why this coin is slipping through hands every single day, while collectors are quietly paying $100,000 for the right one. Do not spend this coin. The 1980 Washington quarter with D-mint mark, in old, dirty, circulated condition, is one of the most misunderstood hidden treasures in American change. It doesn't look rare. It doesn't look old enough. It doesn't look like anything special. And that illusion is costing people a fortune. 1980 was a strange year for the United States. Inflation was exploding. Gas prices were high. The economy felt unstable. People were moving money fast. Coins were moving faster. The Denver Mint was pushing out massive numbers of quarters to keep up with demand. And when production pressure rises, quality control bends. Dies get overused. Machines run longer. Subtle irregularities creep in. And coins are born that don't look perfect. They look tired from the moment they're struck. Collectors know this pattern. When you look at the front of this 1980 with D quarter, George Washington's profile often appears slightly flat, especially around the hair and cheek. The word liberty can look a little pressed. In God we trust may not stand boldly off the surface. Flip it over. The eagle looks dense, heavy, almost melted into the coin instead of sharply defined. The arrows and olive branches feel subdued. The rim can look slightly softened from dye fatigue. This is not damage. This is mint stress captured forever in metal. The coin's composition is copper-nickel clad. No silver, which is why people ignore it instantly. But collectors aren't looking for silver here. They're looking for survivors from a high-volume, high-pressure minting year. It weighs about 5.67 grams. The diameter is 24.3 millimeters. The thickness is around 1.75 millimeters. The girth feels exactly like every other quarter in your pocket, which is what makes this so dangerous, because you will never suspect it. Most 1980 with D quarters were abused by circulation, laundromats, vending machines, parking meters, decades of handling, scratches, cleaning, polishing, damage. That's why the ones collectors pay for are the ones that still look old, dirty, and completely original. That dark tone, that grime in the letters, that gray, worn surface. Never clean this coin. That dirt is not a flaw. It is proof that nobody ruined the surface trying to make it shiny. The moment you clean it, the value disappears. Most people miss this. They think newer coins must be shiny to be valuable. Collectors think original surfaces are everything. Now here's where hidden wealth shows itself. Because when a professionally graded 1980 with D Washington quarter with original dirty circulated surfaces appears at auction, collectors don't laugh at the date. They lean forward. They know how rare it is to find one that hasn't been cleaned, scratched up, or damaged over 4 decades of use. The bidding is calm, serious, intentional, and it climbs to $100,000 for a coin people thought was worthless. You're holding a silent fortune and you don't even realize it. The first thing to check is the date, 1980. Then look for the D mint mark on the front, right next to Washington's ponytail. That tiny letter is critical. Then study the surface. If it looks dirty, dark, evenly worn, and clearly never cleaned, you may have something extraordinary. Do not try to improve it. Patience creates wealth with coins like this, because professional grading is the step that turns this from pocket change into documented treasure. Without grading, nobody believes it. With grading, collectors recognize it instantly. Collectors are holding these tightly. They're not letting them go. Supply shrinks every year. Demand keeps growing as more people learn about overlooked modern survivors like this. This is not fiction. People are accidentally losing this coin every single day because it looks too ordinary to matter. And that's the trap. You've just seen 5 Washington quarters that look like junk change, but hide life-changing money in plain sight. So here's my final warning. From now on, you do not look at quarters the same way again. You check the date. You check the mint mark. You check the surface. Because hidden wealth is sitting in the dirtiest coins you own. And if you thought these were shocking, wait until you see the quarters we haven't even talked about yet.